Hey guys, I decided I'd put together this little quick homework tutorial for the homework this week. As you're about to find out in class, I decided to hold back on rotations another week, so we're not going to worry about the homework this week that says the rotations of shapes on the top of it. And again, I'm going to tell you guys about that in class. I'm actually going to remove it as well from your assignments tab. So don't worry about the rotations of shapes. We're just literally, you got short homework because of it today. We're just going to do the translations and reflections. And again, we're just going to be working on that. I'm not asking you to do the XY charts. That'll be your homework next week. So let's just walk through how we would do a couple of these problems or a couple of the different problems that you're going to see on these pages. So let's start with number one. All we have is a single point here, Z. And if I wanted to, I could make my XY chart, like right here. And then right next to it, I can make another one that shows my movement, and Z is at 1, 2, 3 units to the left and 2 units down. Okay, and it's telling me that we're going to reflect across the y-axis, which looks like this. So if I'm going to reflect that across the y-axis, if I was just doing my XY chart work, I would know that my y is going to stay the same, and my x is going to become the opposite of it, the coordinate. So if the opposite of -3 is a +3, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 over, 2 down, and that's going to be my z prime. Okay? Either way, if I wanted to do it just by visually, I could have just taken my point here and counted to my line of reflection. So it'd be 1, 2, 3 units to my line of reflection, and I can take it 3 units off it. Again though, the XY charts really help out because when we get bigger graphs, it's not as easy just to count to my line all the time. I have to be able to do the math as well. Okay, so the next type of problem we get is a little bit more complicated. We get like we'll do number 4. Okay, so number 4, okay, it's saying we're going to reflect across x equals -3. Okay, what that's telling me is my line of reflection is when x equals -3, which is right here, but x also equals -3 here, here, here. Actually, it forms a vertical line where it goes through x equals -3. Now, in this case, since I'm not just going across the axis, I don't want to use my XY chart. I actually want to count to my line of reflection. So all I'm going to do is find each point. So I'm going to take point G, I'm going to count to my line of reflection. 1, so now I count 1 off it. There's G prime. Q is 1, 2 to my line of reflection, so I'm going to count 1, 2 points off it. G prime, Q prime, and Z is 1 to it, so Z is going to be 1 off it. So that's what it looks like reflected across x equals -3. And I know that's a little bit difficult, so really take your time on this one. I'll help you guys here. When x equals 1, that's going to be your line of reflection that you're counting to. Okay? Now for these guys, there's a lot of different ways we can finish these ones off. Since we're just going directly across the y-axis, or I'll do number 5. Since we're just going across the y-axis, okay, I'm going to make an XY chart. For this one, and we're going to do -5, -4, and that was B, and we're going to do -5, 0, and that was N, and -2, -3 was Q. Okay? And I'm going to put those on there. So B was 5 to the left, 4 down. There's B. N was 5 to the left and 0 up. So there's N. And Q was 2 to the left and 3 down, which is right here. So let's connect with that. So that's what my shape initially looks like. Now, without doing all the counting though, since we're just going across the y-axis there, I know that when you reflect a coordinate across the y-axis, the y stays the same and the x gets flipped. The x gets flipped, becomes its opposite. The y stays the same and the x gets flipped. So the y's are going to stay the same, -4, 0, negative 3, b prime, b prime, n prime, q prime. And then my x's are just going to become their opposites. So instead of negative 5, it's a positive 5. Instead of negative 5, it's a positive 5. Instead of negative 2, it's a positive 2. And if I want to, all I would have to, I already have my points, so I'm just going to check. So let's take my q and count it. So that's where q prime would go, because it's 2 to my line of reflection. So 2 off it. And q prime is at negative 2, or is at 2, negative 3, which works out. So I know I did that one right, okay? Let's take a look at the second page real quick. Do a couple examples from there. Okay? When, for these top two, okay, it's saying that we're taking point G, which is right here, and it wants to translate it to negative 2. If it's saying a translation, you can also read that like this: x plus 2, y minus 2. Okay, just take what it gives you there and know that it goes with that. So that's telling me to move 2 to the right. There's my x plus 2, and then 2 units down. So it'd be right here would be my g prime. That's my minus 2. Okay, if I wanted to put it into my x prime, y prime, this would be at negative 3, negative 1, and then when I move it, I'm going to take my x value and plug it into my x rule, and then I'm going to take my y value and plug it into my y rule. So I'm going to go negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, and negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3, and that's where g prime ended up. Okay? So this guy, like I said here, that's your translation rule that you're using, so you're just going to apply that. Now when it says write a rule, we're looking at what type of rule would get us here. So here, you can see we are reflecting across that axis. And that line of reflection, which is the x-axis in this case, E is 1 to it, it's 1 off it. This guy is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to it, 5 off it. This guy is same thing, 5 to it, so I'm going to come 5 off it. So I know it's a reflection, so all I'm going to do is write it's a reflection on the x-axis, and that's my rule. Okay, for 10, you can see the y-axis is going to be your rule. It's going to be a reflection across the y-axis. Now, 11 and 12 are a little bit more difficult, so let's start with 12. I'll just do 12 real quick. Here we have L, which is right there, and it corresponds with L prime, which is right there. So what I need to do is figure out how I need to move to get to L prime. So I'm going to go 1 unit up, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the left. And since it's to the left, that's my negative direction, so I'm going to go minus 5. Okay, and now I'm just going to take these two guys here and plug them in to my translation rule, because I know it's translating, and I'm going to have my x move was minus 5, because x is your horizontal, your left and right movement, and my y rule was plus 1, which is your up and down. Okay? And that's how you work through those homework. Again, I will be going through these for the next few days too, during my virtual office hours from 2 to 2:45. So it'll just always be open. So if you're going through it and struggling, just pop in real quick, and I'll hopefully be able to answer your question real quickly and get you on your way. Thank you.